All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for coming to our last meeting of all of 2022 school year. So I have a few announcements before we get started into the fun part. First being, let's see, if you have a question today, as you can see, there are 4 stations where you can ask questions. We live and we learn. I posted the meeting and we could not hear your questions. Silly me. So we have stations for you provided by Mike, who was just over the air there. And we also, let's see, obviously our meeting is being live streamed today, and it will be recorded as well. And I'll send you guys that link and you can share it with whoever that you see fit. And we have a jam-packed, amazing agenda today, so I'm not going to bother you too much longer. But I want you to grab a snack. For sure, grab a snack provided by Roger over there at St. Francis Reflections Pediatric Palliative Care. So, are you guys excited to be here today? Yeah? I am so happy to see everybody, and definitely make sure you grab some coffee and a snack. Let's see if I have anything else before I announce Roger to come up for us. All right, if you don't have a red ticket, come find me. I want to make sure that you guys can be in the drawing. And also make sure that you have an index card. If you don't, I can get that for you as well. It's going to come up when I have my activity in just a bit. So next, I would like to introduce our amazing sponsor, Roger Walters from St. Francis Reflections Pediatric Palliative Care. You can thank him for coffee and for snacks and for being incredibly awesome.
Wow. Hello, hello. There it is. So she set the expectation for me really high. I'm probably going to bring it down a notch. But I also wanted to say I have Miss Lynn with me today. She's one of our social workers and over our North Star program. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in just a moment. Because I have 10 minutes and I could talk for 3 hours. So buckle up. I'm going to tell you about a kid that I refer to as Superman that's been on our services. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the heart of St. Francis. We are the only nonprofit hospice in Brevard County that is also independent, which means no one owns us. We get to do whatever we want. And one of the coolest things we've done since '77 is we don't just look to where we can make money. We look into our community and find where people need help that aren't able to get it. These are the people that fall through the cracks, right? So we get to create new service lines to go and help these folks. So one of the best examples we have is with Lynn. She's over North Star. North Star is grieving for kids. So any child in Brevard County who has lost someone, they can go to North Star for as long as they want. And it's an incredible service because we always hear, like, who here has heard that kids are resilient? They're just so resilient. So people come and talk to me earlier when we were talking about that. Kids really aren't that resilient. When they grieve, they wear the same face that they always have because life hasn't taught them what you're supposed to look like when you're depressed, what you're supposed to look like when you're sad, all these emotions that they go through. So at North Star, they get to come, and it's done by ages, so you don't have the old kids with the young kids, and I know because my kids attend, but they do art therapy, they do play therapy. We just went to the Brevard Zoo, which was covered by our foundation, getting in and being able to do various things. And it's all aimed at helping kids get through those emotions. Our kids don't just need that, they deserve that. And it's an incredible service that Lynn is providing to our community. Numbers-wise, I think just before COVID, we had 15 kids, and we're at around 160 now. COVID was hard on our kids. Their lives were changed drastically, and they didn't know how to deal with that. So let's see. During COVID, we learned. Now, here's the sad part. Everybody get ready, okay? I was telling someone this earlier this morning. They were crying. We started a pediatric hospice and palliative service line. Now, we don't call it hospice, and there's reasons for that. It's because it's very, very different from adult hospice. It's so different that calling it hospice, it would actually be a lie. So we call it pediatric palliative care, and the reason we started it was, let me ask you this. Do you send your kids to a family doctor or do you send them to a pediatrician? Pediatrician. If they need to go to the dentist, do you send them to a regular dentist or do you send them to a pediatric dentist? Pediatric dentist. Why? Because it's a specialized care. It's a different experience from the moment they walk in. There's drawings and the staff, most of the time, really love kids. And so for that same reason, we were grieved to learn that even though all 4 of us hospices would take children on services, doctors were sending kids to Miami. They were sending them to the western part of Florida and all the way up to Jacksonville because there's not very many pediatric palliative services in Florida. Hearts were broken and we cried because we thought if there's ever a time when a kid needs to be with their friends and their family and their community, it's then. So we cried, we grieved, and the next day we created a pediatric palliative team. So it is a dedicated team with nurses, doctors. We have massage therapists. We have volunteers that can do pet therapy like Lynn uses often with North Star. And we have, of course, what I'll call our unicorn. It's our child life specialist. I didn't come from the pediatric world. Child life specialists are incredible. So imagine your child is at the hospital getting their blood drawn or starting IVs, or they have to be still for like 20 minutes to get a scan. Anybody ever had kids that's went through that? It's a nightmare. Yeah, I saw a hand. It's a nightmare. A child life specialist goes in, gets to know your child, develops a strong connection, and then she plays with them. We pay them to play with the kids, to distract the kids, to keep them still, to keep them from being fearful and full of anxiety. They are incredible people, and when our kids on our program have to go to Nemours or Arnold Palmer for those tests, she goes with them. It's incredible. I would love to have that when my kids were having their blood drawn, but they're not on our service, so she can't go. I told you earlier that I was going to tell you about the time I met Superman. So I was doing pediatric admissions early in COVID, and one of our first patients, I got all of his information, I read through. Now my expectation was I was going to go in this home, meet this child who was invalid, who was hooked up to multiple machines, who was hooked up feeding tubes, IVs, just all these things. And of course, I'm crying because I'm reading through the fact that this kid's 3 and he's lived in and out of hospitals his entire life. So I get to the home and I'm like looking and I'm like, okay, there's like 3 kids in here. They're playing hard. That's cool. So I looked at Mom and I was like, where's he at? And she was like, that one, that jumping and flying and throwing everything with both hands. And I was like, wait, what? This isn't the kid I was expecting. And so I started doing my assessment. He took the stethoscope, and the doctor was there with us, of course, and she was actually doing most of the assessment, but he immediately took her stethoscope and put it on his heart. I thought, well, that's not where his heart's supposed to be. His heart's on the wrong side of his chest, and it's flipped around. And when we were listening to his stomach, he had to put the stethoscope in different places. He knew all the things. His organs are all in the wrong spots. He's got too many of some. He doesn't have enough of all the pieces of other organs. But this kid knew all the things, and he was energetic and comfortable with us doing everything with them. Superman. Incredible. Until we said, we need to see your feeding tube. All the happiness, all the energy had left. He turned flushed. He started stepping back and he put his hands up. The kid was in fear. And that is not something that we expected. And his mom said, he had an experience. His tube came out. It's easy to put a tube in. It's no big deal. But he was freaking out. And for like 3 hours in an ER, they forced the tube back in through him screaming and crying. And it was just awful. And this kid was reliving it simply because we said, can we see your feeding tube? So we admitted the kid and we're moving on. We got a hold of our child life specialist who was visiting the next day. And she said, I got something for that. So she comes in for her first visit. She brings a teddy bear. Okay, cool, teddy bear, 3-year-old kid, this should go well. He took to the teddy bear, not because it was cuddly and soft and all the things kids love about him, but because the teddy bear had a heart where his heart was. He noticed that. He also noticed that the teddy bear had a peg tube, or he had a peg tube. He immediately became the doctor for that teddy bear, taking care of it, making sure his peg tube was in place, making sure the peg tube couldn't come out. And what I realized, the reason I call the child life specialist a unicorn is because within 10 minutes, she helped this kid overcome his fears and his anxieties that had plagued him for about a year. And just taking those small steps and overcoming that. What I want you to understand and what I want you to take away from this is that pediatric palliative care is simply us taking care of whatever is hurting a kid. If it's fear, if it's anxiety, if they got feeding issues, if they're not sleeping well, pain, breathing, all the things. We're going to take care of those things so they can get on with living their best lives, no matter what that looks like. Because if they're having to deal with all that, they can't go do all the things that they want to do. Another big takeaway is I said that pediatric palliative care is different from adults because this is huge. With adults, we get them for the last 6 months of their life, which usually translates into the last few days of their life. That's how it works in America. It's how we are. With kids, that 6 months goes away. So we can take a child at birth that we know may have something that's going to take their life sometime during their childhood, but we can be there the whole time with all of our services while they're still seeing their doctors and their specialists and getting tests and surgeries. Because as adults, you can't do that if you're on palliative and hospice services, right? You have to give that up. With kids, it's concurrent care. They continue to get everything because, let's be honest, it's bad PR to tell a kid they can't get something, right? So you don't have to give up anything, and you get this incredible specialty. And for the kids who, let's say, are going to live, through their childhood and into adulthood, like our little Superman, he's actually getting our services not because he's going to pass away during childhood. He's getting our services through something we didn't know existed through the state. It's called PIC, Partners in Care. It's through Sunshine Medicaid. So we know this kid isn't going to pass during childhood. He's going to live into his 60s, 70s maybe. But until he ages out at 22, he gets all of our services just like any other kid. And it's incredible. So if you have questions today and you want to know a little bit more, we would love to tell you about North Star. I'd love to tell you more about pediatric palliative services and how I am more than happy to talk to any of your friends or your family, or I know you guys are school leaders, so if you know that there's that family and they need more help with their kids, man, we'd love to help them because we know they're there. We just don't know who they are. So I think I have to turn it over because I probably went over 10 minutes.
It is door prize time. So please go ahead and take your red ticket out, and Roger is going to draw for us. It is a $25 gift card to Wawa.
324116.
Woo! Come on up. Thanks, Roger. Hello, hello. All right. And what is your name? Sarah from Challenger 7 Elementary. All right, so next what we're going to do is a little activity. So if you don't have an index card, raise your hand. Okay, if you will go up there and grab an index card. Does everybody have a pen? You should have a pen. Okay, so what we're doing next is we are going to take 5 minutes to write down some meeting topics that you're interested in for the fall. I would love your feedback. If you can't think of any meeting topics, and I just somehow have covered all the ones that you're possibly interested in, I doubt it, but if you can't think of anything, just write some feedback on how, I could improve, the good, the bad, the ugly, or things that you love. So we're going to take 5 minutes to do that, and I'm going to take a little timer, 5 minutes or so, and we're going to do that. Ready, set, go. 2-minute warning. If you are done and you haven't gotten a snack, go grab a snack. Okay, so if you could take those index cards and put them at the end of the table, I will pick them up in just a few. Thank you for doing that. I love to keep you guys involved. So I'm really excited about our next presenter, Shruti Raman. She will be talking to us about the new math curriculum and getting us a little bit more comfortable with what that looks like. So let's give her a round of applause to introduce her.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Caitlin, for having me here today. Just to give you a little bit of a glimpse of who I am, where I'm coming from, I identify as a learner, a co-learner, a math facilitator, and maybe a math teacher some days. That's who I identify with. This, as we all know, we are in exciting times for math. We've not had this much attention for years, so we're taking all the attention that we can, all the positive attention, not the negative one. So I wanted to begin with some math humor, because that releases the nervousness out of me. It's not about you, it's just about me. So just wanted to share a little bit of math humor, which I now realize this may not work from this. So we want to keep math real. Sorry. I don't know where I'm going next. We do want to keep math real, but we see things such as this, and we're like, yeah, right. Who in the world is going to have 64 watermelons? There are people. This is real world. It may not be yours and mine, but this is someone's real world. And then, of course, we want our children to be thinking math. We want to accept all entry points into math, even if it may be, or it may look like that. It is reasonable. We want our children to be reasonable, and it's not wrong for them to be here. So having said that, our intentionality for today is we're going to focus on what are our best practices in math. How do our children learn math, and how do we meet them in the best way that they learn math? And our focus is going to be on how our children learn. So here are some norms, and more than for you, it's for me, because I need to focus on learning. I need to listen to learn. So here are some norms. I'm going to give you a few seconds and the blessing of silence to just review those. Is there anything you feel you maybe want to add to that or discuss? Yes, ma'am. that each one of us has a voice. Is that okay? I don't know what, like, so that in this room, we all have an equal voice, and in our classrooms, every child has an equal voice. We don't want, as in a lot of our conversations, we are so excited to share that some of us hijack conversations. And I've done that too. I'm guilty of that. We're just so excited, and in our excitement, we forget. So just to make sure that. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. So here is a math task. Before we begin this task, just with a quick show of hands, how many parents of elementary children do we have in the room? Oh, I love it. And how many secondary? We do have some. Okay. So I have a confession to make. A lot of this presentation is through the elementary lens. And I toyed with, you know what, I need to change this. So, but I did it on purpose. So Caitlin will have to call me back the next time, and we can do more of the secondary. But we can track it starting at the elementary. So a lot of this may be a little elementary, but we're going to go into algebra a little bit as well. Having said that, before we do this task, how do you feel about it and why? Anyone who would like to share? Okay. Are you willing to share why? Oh, please use the microphone. Sorry, my fault. Who's talking? God's in the room. Okay, so the one was the frowny face because math has not been a pleasant journey so far. Anyone else want to share? Yes, ma'am. Please use the microphone though, because God might talk to us again.
I just want to say, I think this is great. I love it. I'll embrace it, and we're excited about it. And there are plenty of free programs online where you can learn it and make it exciting for your kids. That's what I like to do.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else that wants to? Yes, ma'am.
Been in education for 20 years. I changed my major from elementary ed to early childhood because when I went to go teach a 5th grade class, the person said, "Here, teach math." And I thought, oh my God, I'm never doing that. And that was many years ago. And so I spent most of my time in kindergarten, and now I do training in sales because I don't ever want to look at that. And now I have my husband do the math with the kids.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And while we would like to live in a different world, many of us have had these journeys in math. I've been pushing, saying, please don't say math is not your thing. If you drive to work, you get gas, you organize your wallet, you estimate your time. Math cannot not be your thing. Since ELA folks are not in the room, I can use double negative. But, it really cannot. Realistically, we cannot say math is not my thing because you live it, breathe it every day. You just don't title it as math. And many of us in my generation, and I'm dating myself, and so many of you are much younger than me. Many of us, when we think math, we think of our college experiences, probably calculus, probably differential equations, and that's what we broadly term as math, which is math, for sure. So how do we change that? When our children are experiencing this, what do we do? Has this changed your entry point into this task? Why? If it did change, Why did it change?
It gives visual perspective.
And so in our world, we refer to them as visual representations. Yes, ma'am.
It also breaks the problem, the equation down. So you get a better understanding of the curriculum as well as the visual learning as well.
So, yes, absolutely. We want our children to have an entry point into math, right? That is our role as parents, as all stakeholders, as adults in our children's lives. Our end in mind is how do we meet our children where they are and how do we grow them from where they are? That's our intent. So some of us may need these visual representations. And many of us have that photoeidetic memory where we may not remember a number, but we visualize like an egg carton maybe and say, you know what, I'm pretty sure I have 2 eggs left. I need to go shopping for eggs. We may not number counting those, but we want all our children to have entry points into that math. And visual representations are an empowering way to have that. So at the end of the day, many of us had that feeling about our journeys of math because it didn't make sense. We didn't know the why. Why in the world am I following all these rules? How is it going to help me in my real world? When we went through schooling, we were told to do. Don't be asking me questions, don't reason, don't think, just do it. Be quiet and do it. And it didn't make sense. And when things don't make sense, you kind of get left out. We would like for all our children to have that growth mindset and say, you know what, I need to dig deeper. I need to take my learning into my own hands and move forward. But really, the fact of the matter is, even as adults, I'm quiet in a conversation that is not making sense to me. I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not in there engaging with it. So our premise begins with our world must make sense. And when I'm saying world, I'm talking about our math for now. Well, really all of it, but with the math lens on. So this leads into math identity and math agency. What is our math identity? And this is what we want to cherish. And I know in my classrooms, I've had children say, Ms. Raman, don't tell me, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. I can do it, don't tell me the answer, don't tell me the answer. Because they want to take ownership. All of us want to experience that success. We want to do it ourselves. And that is a glimpse into our math identity. Can I solve this problem by myself? I am a thinker. I am able to do this. And that's where we want to hone in all our collective energies to build our children up. And when they have a strong math identity, then they have that agency. Right? So if that is the end in mind, we want our children to be thinkers. So how do we do that? Right? We use, in teacher talk, what you might hear often is prior knowledge. We want to bring forth what they already know. So we use what they have. We say, hey, maybe these are some connections you can make. And when children look at that and own those connections, then they go forth and make even more sense. But they build that new knowledge based on their entry point and what connections they are successful in building. I thought the Lego was a good example of that. I hope it is a good example. When you work on things late at night, lots of things make sense. And then when you wake up in the morning, sometimes they don't. But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, that was the best I could come up with. But anyways, but I hope it does. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But the intention is, that's what we're trying to do in our math classroom. We're trying to take them forward. And we know we have fragile learners. We're all fragile because we had something called a pandemic happen. We are aware of this. We still need to grow our children, right? No matter where they are. It is our task, our collective task, saying let's move our children forward. So here is a math task that I'm going to walk you through. So you don't have to do it. So yes, you may see some teachers assigning fraction tiles, but what if we go another route? So in kindergarten, these are the early learning, right? And it's exciting. I mean, I enjoy this world, obviously, but it's exciting to see how our children think. And I'm going off topic here, Caitlin, I apologize, but our children come to kindergarten knowing some math, right? They may not know how to count and land. They may not know how many in all, but when you ask them to share something, they know who got more, who got less, right? They come to us with some of that knowledge built in. What do we do with that knowledge? We're bringing them forward. So we typically, you'll see kindergarten teachers have these dot cards, right? And then they ask the question, what groups do you see? And we see children make these connections. Oh, sorry. 4 and 1. I see 2, 2 and 1. And then I see a group of 2 and a group of 3. And we want them to do this because there's two things happening in their mind. They are arriving at this understanding that there are different parts to this group which I put together to make this whole. So that is building, plus they're looking at patterns, right? It goes back to that visual representation. We're looking at patterns. Those symbols may or may not make too much sense to our kindergartners. But that concept of there are these subgroups within them makes sense. So we call this subitizing. It's that visual, without having to count out every single time. It's looking at those patterns and saying, oh, there's a 5 because I know there's a 2 and a 3. And then in first grade, we give them this frame of reference. Because in our math world, we're base 10. All our numbers, we count to 10, and then if you think, you start actually from 1 again, right? 10 and 1, 10 and 2, 10 and 3. So we're base 10. So we give them this 10 frame of reference. We still show them those dots and say, okay, now what do you see? So by first grade, they say, I know that's a 5, and I see 2 more, right? Or they could say 4 and 3, and then you have our children saying, wait, I know the whole is 10, so if I take away 3, I have what's left. And that's where we're beginning. Remember, our task is to go to the fractions, that expression that I had showed you earlier. So now we go to second grade, and now they're using 10 rods and the 10 frames and adding 2-digit numbers. And our children are excited. I can do it. And at the beginning of second grade, I tell them, by October, you'll be doing this without manipulatives. And they're like, no way. And they're like, yes. In October, several of them have arrived at this notion of, wait, all I'm doing is being flexible and manipulating numbers. And they're like, Ms. Raman, I can do it. We can do it. And if they can, they're excited because they want to go there, right? So we give them this. And then in third grade, we take this jump into a fraction world. So we can use the same information to show them that, right? that same 10ness, because we know we need 10 tenths to make a whole, and so on, and just extending that thought. So now we've taken what they've known, what was familiar as whole numbers, and we are sharing fractions with them. So we arrive at 3 wholes and then 13 1/10ths. And then you're going to say, because they've done this with whole numbers, saying, can we not move some of these there to make that a whole? Yes, we can. So now how many wholes do you see? 4 wholes, and then you have those 3 1/10ths left over. It's like magic, right? Same thing, but it's magic. See, I said math was exciting. So then we take this a little further, and we take it into equivalent fraction, right? Even more exciting. And we say, hey, you guys, you recognize that was 6/10ths. Tell me if I have changed anything. Like, no, Ms. Raman, the number of dots didn't change. It's not tenths anymore. Okay, what is it? Well, I see 5 equal portions. How many of them are filled? 3. So now our equation changes to 2 wholes, 3 1/5, and you're adding 1 whole and 7 1/10. Did we take away anything? No. Did we add anything? No. So does the sum change? No. Yes, this is what math is. This is where we should be. This is where it's exciting. Saying, wait, I already knew this. I didn't need new information. I already knew what I was doing. I just needed to have that identity in math. I can do it. I can do it all by myself. I don't need you, Ms. Raman, to do this for me. I can do it. So then we extended, of course, naturally from fractions to decimals, and we take them down that path. That's that $1 million question that I get asked. We all do, right? Why in the world do you ask my children to solve it in several different ways? So I'm doing this for the first time, so I'm hoping it'll work. If it doesn't work, we'll just ignore that it happened. But we'll try this. So we began our process early, second semester last year, and we put out a parent survey saying, what is it that you're looking for in your child's math lives? We kept in mind what professionals in the industry are asking of our high school students, and we had some lessons that we are learning about algebra, right? So here are some snips, and while they may appear I selected these, well, I did select them, but, and please forgive me for saying this, if the parent survey was considered a bell curve, I did not select any from the stream. I just took most of them from here. So here are some snips. Very valid input. So now we combined it, and this is a Google snip. Okay, this, I did not take it from any journal or anything, but this was a snip. When you say STEM careers or STEAM careers, what is it that they're asking for? So when I looked at this and I said, what is the one commonality? Like, you can look it up. Please feel free to look it up. And what are commonalities? In when we say STEM careers, what is the ask? What does that mean? So these are the 3, I mean, all of them are similar, but those are the 3 I honed in on. And I'll give you just a few seconds to read that. Would anyone like to comment? So when I looked at that, and I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough. That is what we all do in our professional lives. That's real world, right? That is the ask of us, and that is our real world. So the third aspect was what's happening in algebra. So algebra, unfortunately, many times has become a gatekeeper for some of our children. And when we say gatekeeper, they don't have an entry point because of their math journeys, for whatever reason. And so we want to open that door. Whether they choose to go that route or not is on the families and on the children. But we want to make it accessible to all. So if that is our goal, then how do we benchmark it back to elementary school, start in kindergarten? Right? We want our children to go that route. We want them, well, I take that back. We want them to have access to that route. We don't want that door to be closed because they just don't have access. So here is a problem. If you grab some paper, would you please solve this in the best way that you can, or whatever way you're comfortable with? Okay, if that's what you choose to do. And is anyone willing to share how they did it? This is a safe environment. We're all in this together because you know what? We didn't arrive.
I used some strategy I learned from my second grader, and I made both of the numbers one bigger, so I did 158 minus 100, which was very easy to solve.
Love it. Is there anybody else that chose another way to solve it?
So she picked me because she was my daughter's second grade teacher and made her fall in love with math. I did it the way I learned in school.
That's the way I
The takeaway. And so did my friend.
Is that a wrong strategy? No, absolutely not. Anyone else wants to share a different way?
I went from the lowest number and counted up.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously, you know, I chose those numbers strategically, right? I wanted multiple entry points into this problem. And we had somebody who solved it the way we learned how to. We had somebody who's a teacher who said, you know what, I'm going to do this mentally. And I think, is that how you did it too, mentally? So you just add the 1 to the 99 and say, okay, I'm going to take away 100 and then add that one back and arrive at 28. Or we can count on from that 99, knowing that these are parts of all of that whole. Is there any strategy that was wrong? Are they all reliable? Yes, those are acceptable. Here's another one. I do want your brains to be like so excited with math that you walk out of here and say math is the best subject area in the world. Yes, ma'am.
So if all of the answers are correct, this is what I always had trouble with. My youngest is a senior in high school now. So if they all get to the same answer and it's the correct answer, does it really matter how they do it?
And that's where we're going. So thank you for asking me that question. That was perfect. So just in order to honor the time on the agenda, and I don't know where I am. So when I came up with this, I was like, what can I relate to what I know? And here is how I thought of it. I said, okay, quarters, right? 4 of those are going to make 100 cents, right? I know I have 36 quarters in there, and that's 900 cents. Does that make sense? And then I have 1 more quarter. So it's got to be 925. Is that a valid way? Sure. Is that a way that's accessible to all our children in 3rd grade? Probably not, right? But we have to get them there. This is probably more 4th grade. This is not 3rd grade. 4th, 5th grade. We have to get them there, right? Then, of course, I'm sure, typically we lean on the strategies that we have learned, which is the algorithm. Nothing wrong in that. As long as our children know what's happening behind the scenes when we're following a sequence of steps. Because we arrive at these messages that I hear, my child can multiply and divide. It's word problems that gets them. And my answer, my question is, what is our real world? Is our real world going to offer us wonderful numbers out of context? Or do we have to manipulate them and massage those numbers and be flexible with them? Yes, we do. So when they say word problems, my children go for a toss, then it tells me, wait, your children can follow a process, which is good. We put value in that. But if the child cannot manipulate that, math manipulate, process and make it and adapt it and stretch it to fit the real world circumstance, then are we doing our children a disservice? And that is where my mind always goes. And then, of course, we talk to our teachers and our parents a little more and dig deeper. But here is the next one. And this is where we're going into algebra. How comfortable do you feel applying whichever strategy you chose to use to the algebraic expression? Are we comfortable? And we're kind of like, some of us are like, yeah, no, I'm done. You put an X in there and I'm done, right? That's sad, but this is our real world. Yes, ma'am. For 37 or the X plus 7? It is times. Yes. Note to self, I will try to make that lowercase or something for next time because I think it is lowercase, but I see where you're coming from because it is smaller. Oh, okay, I could do that. I could do that too. That is a wonderful suggestion. I will do that.
I just want to share, math isn't scary. I am not a math person. My husband is, he's an engineer. But I went back to school later on in life to become a social worker, and I had to learn all this math plus statistics after 40 years old. It was very interesting, but you can do it.
Yes. So I do have a request. When you say math is not my thing or I'm not a math person, just add the word yet. I'm not there yet. Because that keeps that door open. And when our children here are saying this, they understand that this is a journey. And we're going to arrive there, and we have hope, and we have positive growth mindset. We're not there yet. We'll get there. But when we end with a period, there is some research out there. Feel free to look it up. But typically, the processes or the strategies that we've used at elementary school don't necessarily play well with this, right? So here is a way that it can play well. And we refer to this as the area model, right? We know 37 is a 30 and 7, and 25 is 20 and 5. Area model? Yes. Yes. I'm not going to say anything about the box method because I want to say that could be a, how we invent terms to make it student friendly. That could be for a different, or it could be for this. I'm not sure. But this is called, in math, we refer to this as the area model. Does this have an entry point? Any questions about this? This plays well with the algorithm, right? This is how we do it. We take the parts, the decomposition, the parts, the patterns that we began in kindergarten. Guess where it took us? That decomposition brings us here. We're flexible. I'm going to make, and this is the one example that my children always said. I would always ask them, how do you eat your dinner? What do you use? I eat it with a spoon. So how do you eat it? Well, like, I eat a spoonful at a time until it's over. Okay. How would you eat an entire turkey? Well, Ms. Raman, I would still probably use a fork, but a spoonful at a time. Well, how would you eat an elephant? You would still eat it a spoonful at a time because you cannot eat the whole elephant all in one shot. And that's what I kept saying. Your spoonful in math, make it your own. It's your mouth, it's your mind, it's your brain, right? Yes, ma'am.
So with the way you're explaining math, if your child is having problems in math, it would seem like a message I just recently received before is to go back to the beginning and kind of work your way back in and find out where the problem is. Yes?
Yes. Our real world is not ideal, right? With my own child, what I would sit and say is, try to find out when did it stop making sense? Like at what? Yes, go back 1-digit numbers, that is one pathway. But does my children understand what that number means? Maybe, what does 7 mean? Is it just that symbol? Okay, see, discussions are so, but I'm just going to zip through this. But if you decompose that and you get to this, and I'm so sorry, I enjoy math way too much. So why is my child asked to solve? We want them to be flexible. We want them to be efficient. We want them definitely to be accurate. But what may be efficient in one circumstance may not be efficient in another. And I'm so sorry. I'm going to read this poem because I am so passionate about this. And I'm so sorry. Please be bear with me. Caitlin, do invite me back. I promise I'll be better prepared next time. Don't not invite me back next time. So this is a favorite poem, and you have probably heard it. But with parents, this is my all-time favorite. And I have been known to cry a little bit in the past. It's called Whose Child Is This? Whose child is this? I asked one day, seeing a little one out at play. Mine, said the parent with a tender smile. Mine to keep a little while. To bathe his hands and comb his hair. To tell him what he is to wear. To prepare him and that he may always be good. And each day do the things he should. Whose child is this? I asked again, as the door opened and someone came in. Mine, said the teacher, with the same tender smile. Mine to keep just for a little while, to teach him how to be gentle and kind, to train and direct his dear little mind, to help him live by every rule and get the best he can from school. Whose child is this? I asked once more, just as the little one entered the door. Ours, said the parent and the teacher as they smiled, and each took the hand of the little child. Ours to love and train together, ours this blessed task forever. I want to leave you with that because we are all integral in the journey of your children. They become ours when they come to our schools. We do want what's best for our children. So I have a very humble request. Please work alongside us. Yes, we're not perfect. I'll put it out there. As teachers, we are learners as well. We are not perfect, but please do work alongside us and let's help all our children in Brevard grow. My favorite Maya Angelou quote is what I live by. Let's do the best we can until we know better, right? And then we know better, we just do better. So here is my email, and I'm so sorry I ran over. Promise I'll do better next time, because now I know better to not talk so much. But thank you.
They also have your email on their agenda. So I learned something today. Did you guys learn anything from her? Yes. Shruti's amazing, and you are always invited back. You're fine. So our 10-minute break is now a 5-minute break, so if you gotta go potty, time to go. Sorry, I was a teacher, I said potty. So if you want a snack, you can do that. And also talk to Roger. He's cool too. coming back to us via the break. So we have food services here, Lori Conlin. She is here, and her crew in the back. Woohoo! She is going to tell us. Hello, this mic is just being finicky today. So she's going to talk to us about new and amazing things happening in food services. I'm really excited about it. You should be too, because we are sampling today and we are going to try these amazing new things that they're providing for us. So without further ado, this is Lori Conlin from Food Services.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks, Caitlin. Okay, good. You can hear me now. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Lori Conlin. I'm the District Nutrition Manager for Food and Nutrition Services, and I just wanted to come and talk today a little bit about our department to let you know a little bit more about what goes on in the school lunch line and tell you a little bit more about our school meals. And hopefully you'll learn some new things today and see all the great things that we have happening. I wanted to start by talking about the mission of our department, and that's up on the screen there. Fueling student success by providing nutritious meals at an affordable price while promoting sound eating habits. And as I go through the presentation, you'll kind of see how we really try to accomplish that, but by what we're doing in the schools as far as the school meal program. Okay, there we go. So school lunch is not what it used to be, and I don't know if any of you remember this lunch tray. Yeah. So the good news is there's been a lot of changes since we've seen this lunch tray. I know that I for sure had the rectangle pizza. I think mine was on a styrofoam tray, but this is what I remember lunch to be. But it has really, really evolved over the years, so that's the good. I apologize, this is not cooperating with me. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what makes the meals different today than they were back then? So the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2020 really made a difference in school meals because it established nutrition standards that we had to follow. And those standards are based on the dietary guidelines, and I'm not sure, is anybody familiar with what the dietary guidelines are? Dietary guidelines for Americans? Okay, no, okay. They're basically just guidelines to keep the American population healthy, but it's through the lifespan. And so the guidelines of the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act are really mirroring those guidelines and trying to start early with kids in schools and feeding them healthy meals. So the goals of the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act were to improve the health and well-being of the nation's children, increase consumption of healthful foods during the school day, and create an environment that reinforces development of healthy eating habits. And as you see from what I'm going to talk about later on, you'll see how we're trying to accomplish that with our school meals. I do have the dietary guidelines down on the bottom of the screen there, and it's following a healthy dietary pattern every stage of life. Most of you have probably seen the MyPlate logo that's there on the screen, and that logo is really embodying those USDA dietary guidelines. So a focus on variety. So you can see even by the MyPlate, we have all the different food groups, milk, fruit, vegetable, grains, and proteins. Calories should be limited from added sugars, saturated fat, limiting sodium, and then having smart beverage choices, and just supporting healthy eating for all. Okay, so everything that we have in the school meal programs has to abide by strict guidelines. Oh. Okay. I think I actually skipped the slide at the beginning because the mouse is not cooperating with me, but I can go back to that at the end. Okay, so the student meal programs that we have at Brevard Public Schools, we have the school breakfast program, and breakfast is free to all students throughout the county. Okay, so we have a good variety of offerings at breakfast. We have breakfast sandwiches, we have cereals, we have fresh fruits, we have Del Monte fruit cups, juices, just a really good variety, lots of cereal choices. So it's a great thing that it's free for all students. So if you have a busy morning, you can send your student to school and know that they can have breakfast at school. And it's free. National School Lunch Program. So this is the program that we offer all of the lunch meals to the students under. And again, we're under the guidelines. So we're providing meals that are meeting calorie guidelines, fat guidelines, saturated fat, trans fats, sodium, and our grains are heavy and rich in whole grain. And you can see the lunch prices there. So it says free, reduced, or full pay. So students can get free or reduced meals by completing an application, and if they qualify, they can get a free or reduced meal. And full pay students are students that don't qualify for free or reduced. So you can see the prices are very reasonable. And we're one of the lowest lunch prices of all the counties in the state. And we try really hard to keep it low. And the reason we can be low in our prices is because we get reimbursement dollars for the meals that we are providing to students. So that can then subsidize the cost of the meal. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So students are learning to eat healthy when they're in our lunch line. So a couple of years ago, we started with these new line labels. And you can see how they go along with the My Plate. So it's teaching children to get a well-balanced meal as they go through the lunch line and the breakfast line as well. So at breakfast, students must choose at least a fruit with their breakfast. So, and so these signs are posted for students to see, and they're helped through to do this when they're very little, and they learn as they go through that they have to have fruit or juice at breakfast. And then for lunch, they have to have at least a fruit or a vegetable. Okay. So you could see how the dots correspond, the colors of the dots. So we have the fruits are red, vegetables green, the proteins are purple, and the grains are brown. And then, of course, you have your milk as well. And the milks that we have are 1% or fat-free milk. Okay. So see, these are some of the great things that are happening in the school cafeterias. So we have a lot of menu variety, and we also always have kid favorites. So we have our menus posted on NutriSlice. I don't know if you're familiar with NutriSlice. We do have some little cards here today that have a QR code. There, you can download the app, so you can have access to the menus, and you can see everything that we're serving to the students for breakfast and lunch. But as far as menu variety goes, we have everything from home style meals to tacos to baked ziti. And then we have chicken products, pizza, obviously, for the kid favorite, and lots of other things. And, you know, this year with COVID, we were a little more limited because of supply chain issues, but next year we're trying to go full force again and get some more of the variety back and even have some brand new items for the students. We also have lighter side options available every day for students. And if you look in the bottom right corner of the screen, you'll see some really nice salads there, and those are what we're serving to students. So really nice salads are available every single day. We also have side salads. We have baby carrots and assorted vegetable cups that are there every single day for the kids. And all these vegetables and fruits add a lot of color to the line and to their tray when they're taking their meals. So it's really pretty. As far as the vegetables go, we allow students to take unlimited vegetables. So we have to offer at elementary at least 1 vegetable serving and 2 at high school. But if a student wants more than that, we do allow that because we don't ever want to discourage a student from taking a vegetable. Because, there were students taking a salad, but they also wanted the hot vegetable, and we allow that. As far as the fruits, we have a ton of variety in the fruits. We have prepackaged cubed fruits. We have Del Monte fruit cups. We have applesauce cups. We have fresh fruits, a good variety of them. And you could see the pictures down at the bottom, more towards the left part of the screen. And you can see all the variety and the color there. And that's available to the students. We also have dried fruits. We have craisins available too. Something else that we do is called Try It. And if you look in the top right corner of the screen, there's a little sign there. It says carrots. We highlight a fruit or a vegetable every month on the serving line for the students. So this one in particular is about carrots. And so we will have the carrots on the line, and the students learn nutrition facts about that fruit or vegetable. So it's a nice teaching tool, and it's just something fun for the kids because they can actually taste it as they're going through. School gardens. We support school gardens, and we try to help with the harvest of the school gardens. So say they harvest some lettuce, the students harvest it, they grow it from the seed up, and then we try to help them to see what it is like to eat that harvest. So we will clean it and prep it, and it'll be part of the serving line for the students, and it's all part of the learning process there too. Okay. We serve a lot of high quality foods and brands that children are familiar with from their own home. So we have Tyson, we have P.G. Lee, Smuckers, the Uncrustables. We have a lot of very familiar brands that both parents and students are familiar with. We serve Wild Mike's Pizza at the elementary and middle school level, and it has no artificial anything, as you can see, but no artificial ingredients, all natural, and it is a whole grain rich crust as well. And the students really, really like that pizza, so it's a good product. Tyson chicken products, no antibiotics ever, and we also have whole muscle chicken patties, and they are wonderful. If you ever have the chance to try one of our chicken patties, they're great. Not the pressed meat, it's a whole muscle chicken patty. So it's very high quality. Okay, so this is a picture of one of our cafeterias, and we are self-supporting or self-funded. So the money that we generate from selling meals to students goes right back into updating and improving our cafeterias so they're more enjoyable for the students. So this is Cocoa High School that had a recent upgrade, and you can see how nice it looks. And since they're a high school, they have their mascot, and they put a lot of nice artwork on the walls, new tables, new seats. So the money that we make from the school meals goes to support the program. I want to try to go back to my other slide at the beginning. Okay. So this is just some more facts about our department. Since COVID in March of 2020, we've served over 19 million meals. So during COVID, kids weren't coming to schools at some point, and we were serving meals curbside to make sure that kids had food to eat, because there are some kids that rely on school meals to fill their bellies and get good nutrition. We did that. We also did some take-home meals once kids did return to school so they could have weekend meals. And then we were eventually serving through the serving line as well. So we served over 19 million meals since March 2020. In a typical year, we usually serve around 10 million. The school foods and menus meet the USDA guidelines. I went back to this slide, so this is what we already talked about, but they do, in fact, meet those guidelines. We have registered dietitians, including myself, and 2 others on our team that are planning the school menus. And we involve students in recipe and product testing, and you all are going to get to try one of the new recipes that we're going to be testing with students at Titusville soon. It's the marinara sauce, so that'll be in a few minutes. We're recognized with 7 USDA Best Practice Awards, and we're self-funded, and I explained what that meant. Okay. So a lot of the information that I talked about today can be found in our Food and Nutrition Services brochure, and Caitlin's holding that up right now. That's for the current year. We're working on our brochure for next year, but there's a lot of good information in there, pretty much everything that I've told you about. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to our department. And I see some of my team coming around with samples. So we are going to be tasting, as Caitlin mentioned. So we have the fresh, zesty marinara sauce, which is the sauce that we are also testing with students, because we're trying to give it a new, fresh, and zesty flavor. And we're going to try to incorporate that into some of our recipes that we already have. It's made with red gold tomatoes. We also have a mini garlic breadstick that is whole grain rich. And there's also a mini yogurt parfait, and we serve those on the serving line as one of our desserts that students can choose when they go through the serving line. The breadsticks have no artificial preservatives, no high fructose corn syrup, no artificial coloring, and the yogurt is no artificial sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup as well. So very good products. I also wanted to encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at BPSFNS. So if you would like to keep up with what we're doing in the cafeterias and to see what new entrees we might have coming about, or any of the renovation projects that we're doing, you can find all that good stuff on Facebook and Instagram. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Yeah. It's like a little mini parfait, just like you have here. It's in a different cup, but yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If the brownies, we don't serve a brownie as a dessert as part of the meal. If they would want a brownie, they can purchase a brownie. Yeah. Oh, as part of this, oh, we have all the fruits as well. So we have all of that available for them to choose. Yes. I could probably hear you.
So while sitting in my assistant principal's office yesterday, our SRO goes through the cafeteria, helps in there, and they said they were going to be taking away the kids' basket of like ketchup and things like that when the kids forget to get it in the line, and that if they happen to forget, they have next year. I guess they're going to implement this. If they happen to forget, they're going to have to go back in line and pay a nickel. And you're talking, these are elementary schools, children, 5 years old, starting kindergarten for the first time, and they're not going to know to pick that up. Is that normal?
I mean, that may be something that's a school decision because I don't believe that's the normal practice. But which school are you referring to?
South Lake.
Oh, South Lake. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that that's the usual practice. I mean, they should be able to go back up and ask for a condiment.
Yeah, and that's what they were saying, but they were saying that the manager was saying that they're going to do away with that. And as a parent, I don't agree with that.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know if that needs to be taken up with
Okay,
her,
it's noted, and I can look into that.
Okay.
And I can speak to the manager to see.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We are going to have to move on.
Okay. All right.
Guys.
Oh wait, I think there's. Can we do one more?
I'm sorry, Leslie. Go ahead, Leslie.
Is this whole grain? It is delicious.
Yeah, it's at least 50% whole grain. So yes, yeah. Okay. Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? Feel free to reach out to our department, and we're happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
And Lori's contact information is on your agenda. So if you have any food, nutrition related questions, go ahead and reach out. And how was the food? Was it great? I was impressed as well. Just the smell of it, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm at a little pizzeria. So we are going to move on to Miss Priscilla DeNino to talk about Thrive by 5 this morning. I thought she was behind me this direction, but she's over here. So she is going to give us a little presentation on Thrive by 5 and what that is and all of the great information. She is passionate, she is awesome, and I learn a lot from her having a 1-year-old. So I'm really excited to announce Priscilla DeNino.
Good morning, afternoon. I am so excited to be here and so excited to have the parent leaders from every school. Your job is so important in this district. It's because of the time that you're giving and of yourself, of course, to stay connected to your child and their school, but then to connect to the other parents at your school. I was so excited that I was asked to come. I didn't have any knowledge of your organization, but I'm learning a lot about you. So I'm really excited that you're here to listen to this presentation. This is near and dear to my heart. Brevard's Thrive by 5, my entire career, I don't want to say, I'm going to say over 30 years because I don't want to say that next decade. So over 30 years that I have been helping families in Brevard with children from 18 months old to 12. So I feel like I have had the best journey anyone could ask for. I'm a mother of 2, I'm a grandmother of 3. So I think my journey has been wonderful. So some of you may know a little bit about Thrive by 5, and for some of you, it may be new. So give me the hands of, I don't really know anything about it, I've just heard the word. Raise your hand if you know somewhat about it. Oh, I'm even happier about that. We did a kickoff in November. So of course, like Shruti, I'd like to have an hour or 2 with you just to talk about young children and how important what they know and do is for our future, just our future of the world. And your children, they're the key players in this model. So I'm going to just give you a little snapshot and maybe a little taste, and you might want more. And my information is on that paper too, so please reach out to me if you have any questions. So let's get started. It all begins at birth, and when I say it all begins at birth, I'm really referring to literacy. But literacy is not just language, though language is a big part of it. Mathematical literacy is also part of a child's development and growth. And children, when they're born, they're wired for sound and they're wired for thinking. And they've already been listening to their parents, well, the mothers, in their womb. They're already listening to the sound of the language. So they're ready. So when they're born on the day in the hospital, take out the book that the parents get and start reading to that child from the minute the child is born. And it is the voice of the mother and father and any other family members that spend time with that child. That's the voice they want to hear. They don't really want to hear recorded books. They don't really want to hear television. They really want to hear the voices that are in their home and in their life. So early learning is essential, and that really is what's behind Brevard Thrive by 5. And you know we have the superintendent's endorsement. He's actually probably our biggest advocate and speaks about it all the time. So when the person who's at the top of a school district believes that the children are important the day they're born, we know we're going to have support with this initiative, and we hope that you'll share it at your school. So the first 5 years are critical to a child's development. Imagine this. Babies develop more than 1 million neural connections per second. Just talk about math, Shruti. Try to get your eyes around that one. 1 million neural connections per second. Those highways are developing and growing for every child born on the planet. It doesn't matter what country they're born in, and they're wired for the sound of all languages as well. So brains are wired for learning, and they're driven, this is my key, they're driven by the responsive interactions with adults and peers. Some families that as I've done work with parenting, they say, oh, I didn't know I should really have conversations with my baby. Oh, yes. So if that's one thing you can share when you see parents in the hallways at your school with new babies, start talking to that baby. It's the responses that they get from the adults in their world that make their connections for trust, for empathy, for kindness, and for how to communicate. I've taken videos of mothers as they're talking to their babies, and I'm not really looking at the mother, but what I see is that baby, that infant, trying to make those sounds with their mouth. So imagine the child that doesn't see that mouth. So get close to the babies that are in your family and be sure that they can see that. And this is my sad statistic. Only 60% of parents read to their children every day. Now, we're all going to be truthful here, be transparent. I didn't every day, but the more that I know, I did many days. I'll say most of the days because I love to read, but every day you brush your teeth, you read the book. You just make that connection. And I can't tell you that the family is crucial. The family is crucial. The immediate family, the extended family, and the school family is critical to all of that. And it's really vital that we support parents of young children. You're already showing that you're doing that. And your children know that you're a volunteer and you're already giving. So you're already saying to them, this is what we do in the world. We help others, we volunteer, and we give of ourselves. Really important that the young children's earliest experiences, environments, it sets the stage for future learning. Every time you visit that school, you're part of that cast. You're on that stage with all of those children. And I just believe in my heart, I just advocate for this every day. Together we can foster that love for learning, and we can help every family in Brevard. Families are a little more cautious, trying to use the right word, a little more cautious about strangers talking to their children, but I think we can still smile. So smile at the children, because families don't want you touching their baby, and I understand that, but you can still smile or say a kind word. So let's not give that practice up. Social distancing, maybe we need to have another kind of distancing, but we are social beings. We really want to help families discover their child's interests, passions, and strength. So if you're at those schools and you happen to notice that Jonathan really likes, kicking the ball and he's really good at it outside, when you see that parent, please tell them. Please say, I saw your child today when I was visiting the school, and wow, is he good at that? Is she really good at that? And I saw somebody just, do a kind act. Pass those words on. Families need that reinforcement. In these days, they don't get enough of that. So that's our why. So what is Thrive by 5? It's a little bit more than just delivering the bags, but in case you don't know, every child since November 1st that's born in Brevard County in any of our 3 hospitals, Health First, Parish Medical Center, and Rockledge Regional gets a bag from Brevard Public Schools. And we get that in partnership with the hospitals because they're the ones that fund it. And then up here, we're the ones that put it together. So the families get a bag, and it's a nice insulated one. So it's also going to be purposeful for that young family when they're carrying things out for the baby. And also they're getting information on early literacy, what to do with their new baby, and a connection to a lot of other resources. I'm happy to say that we're now partnering with the libraries, the local libraries, and they're getting a little brochure in there about with little footprints. Get your baby's library card. Get the baby's library card. That's going to make these young mothers and fathers go to the library. And what's going to happen at the library? They're going to meet other mothers and fathers. And so they're going to start their own play groups or just having that commonality if their family's not nearby. So look at what we've delivered so far. 2,180 bags have been delivered, and we're hoping by the end of this year, before the next school year begins, we will have delivered 5,000 bags. Except guess what happened over this time when people are home? The prediction was 5,000 babies, and I've heard from the hospitals, it's up to almost 6,000. So we have to, and that's a good problem. So we have to get busy packing some more bags. So, no pun intended, just having fun. So this is what we're doing now, and these are real moms from 2 different hospitals that have received their book. This one, I think it was not even 24 hours after the baby was born, and she said, yes, you can use my picture. I said, thank you. And then the other one, she had already come home. So I think her baby was 3 days old. And so they were so excited to get that and ready to read to the children. And so now, what can you find out on the Thrive by 5 website? Anybody already a member? Not yet. Not yet. But guess what? On the back of the little brochure that I have for you, you have the QR. 5 years ago, I didn't even know what a QR was. So you have a QR, and you just have to scan it with your phone. It'll take you right on here. I thought we'd do a little show and tell. So I want to take you on and show you what our website looks like. These are all the categories that we have so far. Your feedback, your input, and your suggestions I'm asking for. So when you go on, the first thing you're going to see, if it all works, and it did, give it a moment, I hope. Oh, I've already tried it once. That's why I'm not going to get it. But when you go on, a little card's going to pop up asking you to be a member. Please be a member. Nothing goes out of this, can't even think, this site. It doesn't go anywhere else. We have no sponsors. We take no money. Nothing else. It's Brevard and it's safe. So please join, because what will happen if you're a member is maybe you'll go on more often, but you'll get notifications when we add new videos. You'll get notifications when we put up new content. So if you become a member, then you're going to get those notifications. So when you go on here, you'll see the same thing on the side that was on the Power page that we just looked at, and here we go. The categories this way, depending on what kind of a learner you are, and it's very phone friendly. So if you pull it up on your phone, you're going to see it easy to follow. So what you can do is think about a category that you might like to learn a little bit more about. So the first person that shouts out a category, that's where I'm going. Family. Of course, you're the family people. Here we go. So family resources. So you're going to click on that tab, and you're going to see a plethora of things that families want to know about. Please go on. Tell me what you think about the sites. Let me know the information was helpful. I wish I knew more. As Brevard County, we want to be the catalyst for families. We want every new mother to think, I want to know about this, this, or this. You know that Brevard Thrive by 5? Go there. Go on there, because all of these are vetted. All of these are the right places for people to go. You know, young mothers and fathers, they go out on the web, and they're probably finding information, but they have to drive to Orlando, or they have to drive to South Miami. Well, this is full of everything that's right here in Brevard for families. So I'm going to peek into one. So again, here you go. First person to shout out a category. That's my favorite one. You're going to go on here, and I just love, they always have the greatest things up here. So clear your calendar. Don't miss the critical conversation about how nations can help babies and families thrive. And that's changing all the time. It's something you can do for 5 minutes. All of us have 5 minutes. We don't want to go somewhere that's going to take all of our time. You know, you're waiting in line, you're waiting for a doctor's appointment, waiting to pick up your child in the car loop. There you go. So you're going to see the different areas that you can go in. I love this one. I'm a member of this 0 to 3, and I could get caught up at night. Some of us like those series, but my series is this. I get stuck on here. So you're going to have latest information, all of these short little videos. I mean, I can see that you will spend some time on here. So let's go out of there and go back. If we had more time, I would be playing a lot with you, but we don't have a lot. But we do have a video library that's just started. So let me see if we can get us there. So far, and I didn't know I'd be making videos, but with Mike, the man that you hear behind the scenes, he's the guy, he's a videographer. And so right now there are 2 up there. One about reading to newborns to 6 months, and another one about reading and brain development. One of them is 8 minutes, the other one is 4 or 5. Our goal is 4 to 5 minutes. So that's what we're going to have up there. We're going to have interviews with pediatricians. And a mother from each of the hospitals has agreed to let me follow her. So we're going to hear from real people. You know, those virtual reality shows, people like that? But these are going to be real moms, new babies born in Brevard. So I encourage you to get on there. I'm going to take us out of. Hope I get back. Oh, I did a good job. Okay, so in any event, you're going to see there's something there for everyone. Our community partners, go on, take a look. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you can't find. And this is what we really think about Thrive by 5. It's going to provide that pathway for every family in Brevard to learn the importance of early literacy. Birth to 3. Just think about, in your core, who you are as a person today, that was developed by the time you were 3 years old. We don't remember it because they say after 5, we don't have that memory of early childhood. Guess why? The highway's full, got to be emptied out, gets filled up with new memories, and then you get cataloged in your brain, so then you can recall. But before 5, most of us don't remember. Partner with families and continue to stay in touch with them. We're getting ready for our first birthday book, so the families that have joined our family online, we're going to let them know we're going to use elementary schools and the Library Media Center to have birthday celebrations starting in the month of November. So that's coming. We want to give them a central place to find things, and most important, we want to work together with business partners, community leaders to create one Brevard. You know, we're like a tapestry, and every county and every little city is beautiful in its own light. But a tapestry is a little bit different than a quilt. A quilt ends. A tapestry blends over. You know how the threads go across. So if you're in Cocoa and then you're in Rockledge, you'll feel the community connection. They'll be different, but there'll be a connection between them. And here's a really important question. What's the impact of high quality pre-K for students? Mothers, fathers, grandparents, when they go on the Thrive by 5 website, they're going to learn about the value of that. So when their child is of age, or if they have a need because they're going back to work, they're going to find out the difference between those children. I always think about this little girl. You know, she's probably thinking, why don't you ask me some questions? I know a lot. But they don't always have the words yet. So you have to find a way to communicate with young children. 2 things I just want to pull out is students who attend pre-K are 48% more likely to obtain an associate's degree. What that says is it's not about the degree, it's about their confidence in themselves to go farther. That's what that means. Degrees are important, but the confidence to pursue that, that's even more important. And students who attend pre-K are 23% more likely to attend a 4-year college than those who did not attend, because you're setting the stage for those children that education matters. No one can take it from you. As Brevard Public School, our most important value for young families is that we want to create a meaningful transition for children and families as they begin their journey into kindergarten. And I heard someone right out here talking about her child getting ready to go to kindergarten next year. So that's a really good adventure. And we do it this way. It's really important when you're getting ready to go to kindergarten, think about that little child, that 5-year-old, and think about the world from their perspective. I'm afraid if I go on my knees like I do in some smaller ones, I won't get back up. But think about the world from their perspective. You know, think about our world is up here. But you want to really, when you visit that classroom, I recommend that you get down on your knees, maybe say a prayer if you want, but then look around the room and see, does this room look ready for my child? Because that's a really important piece of education. When children make a successful transition, they enjoy school, they look forward to going, they show steady growth, and more important, they have families who are more actively engaged with them, and that is really important for young children. So be cognizant of the children as they begin to start. Am I doing okay? I'm trying to go quick. I'm going to wrap up. So we don't need to see this. This is happening at all your schools right now. Even if you have families that go to pre-K at your school, encourage them to come to the K orientation. It's two different worlds. Pre-K classroom and kindergarten, it's night and day. And here's something for you to think about as we close. Just read that to yourself. What might happen? What might happen if we really achieve this goal that we have set for ourselves? Q&A, not for you to ask me any questions right now, but if you think of anything, there's no silly question except if you forget to send it to me. So my email is on there. You can also contact me through the Thrive by 5 website because I follow that one as well. So please reach out if you have any questions. Look at your brochure. This is a mini one, and you're my first organization to get one. So yay for the parents. We had them for the moms in the bag, and I said, what about if people want to know about it? So the print shop made these for me. So thank you again. Keep doing what you're doing, and we just appreciate you at Brevard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Our last presenter will be Miss Debbie Wood. She's going to give us some resources on summer reading and the importance of it as well, so we can prevent that summer slide that we do not want to happen. So, Debbie Wood.
Thank you. Thank you. Priscilla's a hard act to follow, and I know that I'm the last speaker, so I kind of knew that going in, that I might have to kind of make it quick. So I am going to definitely start with our website first. So I need to go back so you can see where you actually would link onto this yourself. So when you go to, let me go to our homepage. And I'm going to use this mic, if that's okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So when you're on the district's homepage or you're on your app, you're going to go to where it says for parents and students, right? So this is where we go to where it says summer reads. Now that's right now where we have everything that we have that supports just, we want kids to read. We really want them to learn how to read. We want them to read, read, read. There's nothing that we can do for our students and our children at home and then to be advocates and be readers ourselves and model that and read with them and make everything about literacy, even if it's not reading a book, right? It's reading, they're reading the world as they drive through the streets. They're reading all the time. We need to make it an activity for them. So when you go to the Summer Reads site, looks like it wants to go, but okay. It will take you to a page that's just about summer reading. And what we're going to actually do is we have a progress, something in progress. We have a site that's going to be Read at Home. So it will be another link that will take, just really kind of narrow the scope, because when you start to scroll down this page, it gives us a lot of information about summer loss. And it's going to be things that people have seen on TV. It's been a report that's been out there for a while about summer reading loss, so it's nothing new. But house reading, again, I can't emphasize enough, it's not reading hard, right? We're reading for enjoyment. So it's, if a child wants to read something that's hard, they have the initiative to do that, but we do not want to emphasize, are they reading always on grade level? Are they always, let them reread books, let them read anything they want to read. I just can't say it enough, because they see vocabulary, they learn context, they learn how to use clues. So again, reading is the key, and it doesn't matter what level they're reading. Again, we're talking about their independent reading and building that fluency. So there's a lot of supports here as far as on this website, besides the reason why, which we won't take the time right now to do that due to our timetable. But then there's access to books and links to those books on this website right there as far as audiobooks and the things that have been vetted and things as far as for parents and kids. Then you go down to some of the schools, the elementary schools actually do their own summer reading program. So you always want to check with your own media center, but we as Brevard, and I'm going to scroll down to this piece of this page, we have had a partnership with United Way for the last 7 years, I believe. We're really, it's a hard time. The COVID period kind of kept us in a whirlwind. But last year, it was reading out of this world, and we're keeping that theme because it really mirrors what the state did with Celebrate Literacy Week and what they're doing with the New Worlds Initiative. So it's basically, it's a card. It's going to look a little different as you see on the web page, but it's this size. Every K-5 student will get this card during the month of May. The media specialists and the literacy coaches will be working with the students during the rest of April and May, kind of helping them to set reading goals, helping them to know where they can get text, audio, or digitally as well as in print. On the back of this card is actually the place where they actually record the books they read. And there's a challenge for them to read. How many books depending on the grade level. This is not the easiest thing for our primary kids to write on. Agreed? But we had it was a little bit more flimsy before. So this is basically one way that they can submit their books at the end of summer. They can do it on a piece of paper. You want them to, if the parents want them to have a visual for their book and they want to, they can submit that. There's not just one way of submitting it. There's also a Google link that they can, parent, child can submit their books online. All right. So it's definitely multiple ways that students can turn that in. It's not about the ice cream, right? It's the cheapest thing that United Way can do, and the way that we can do it at cost efficiency as far as even time to make sure we're responding to what the kids that made that goal. It's about them achieving a goal. So we want to make sure we're actually emphasizing that with our children, and that it's just the opportunity to get with my other friends that are readers too. So schools have that celebration at the end of the summer for those students that meet their goal, and they have this conversation about books. How much fun can that be? Maybe they have an ice cream sandwich on the side, but they don't have to have an ice cream sandwich. So oftentimes I want to make sure we don't emphasize the ice cream part of it. That's just a way that we can actually use our food services to make this an easy piece for the schools. Yes, ma'am. It's only K-5. It's pre-K-5. So our pre-K students going up to kindergarten, they will receive the card as well. Sixth grades exiting our elementary will not receive this card. Most of our secondary schools have like a how many minutes read, or they have that summer reading list, but there's not like a United Way kind of challenge as a district. Okay, that's a good question though. Okay. I don't know where the voice came from, but I get it.
Okay, I know at the beginning of the year that they had posted on the Brevard Public School website that there was a monthly free book that you could sign up for, but I noticed that it was also only for elementary school. Is there a reason why it's only for elementary school level?
I'm going to go back. It's always about those dollars, right? And it's a state initiative based on elementary data. So it's really through the lens of that data that's being done through the state's grants that they received. And that's underneath the RAISE initiative, which is recently new as a state, but that New Worlds initiative is really just K-5 again. And the student has to be a student that's struggling in reading to qualify for those books. But anyone that's received, again, there's a lot of parameters as far as they don't have to have an IP or anything if they're struggling in reading, and there's an evidence of that. then they can qualify for that. And
Now,
I was
is there
gonna
a
get to that.
deadline for it though?
Hmm?
Is there a deadline for signing up for those books?
No, they want you to sign up as soon as possible, but there's not a deadline. That seems to be going to be an ongoing initiative. I think the students have received 2 books that are already signed up, and it's going to continue through the summer and on through the next year. Okay, so I do have a link for that on here, and I'll show you where that is. So she's referring to, and I'm just going to skip down, and I'll skip down to where she is. It's basically underneath this Florida Department of Education on the Summer Read site. So when you see that where it says New Worlds Initiative, that's what she's speaking to. She's speaking to an initiative that's been started by the state of Florida just this year to help families create a library at home. Now, there are parameters what families qualify for this, but it's a pretty large spectrum as far as what they've offered. Going back to that website, let me see if I can get back there. There's also this reading scholarship step up for students. So students that are struggling in reading, it didn't go, did it? Provides scholarships for students that are in grades 3 through 5 to receive support for tutoring. Now, it doesn't go through the district. It goes through this step up for students, but students that receive a certain FSA score of a level 1 or 2, they actually qualify, and there's other qualifications that are within this piece right here, but it's only grades 3 through 5 that qualify for that support. But it's another way the state's trying to support families with students as far as the reading potential. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Summer Reading Challenge. So again, it's all summer. We want kids to read books. It doesn't matter what kind of books they read. And again, then it's the schools having that reading challenge. So again, and what we had some schools, they're actually doing challenges against each other. So they're actually, I've had Port Malabar, Palm Bay, and I think it's Sunrise have competed. And it's been wonderful as far as the administration and the involvement. So if you just give the kids, I guess, that excitement and engagement and wanting to read on their own, because they see reading sometimes as it's just work, right? Math's just work. It's not that real life. So what I need your help with, and what we all need to support each other, is how do we make reading really one of those life skills that is about what we do every day. It's reading a recipe. It's reading how to put a plant into wasn't there something that's came out, but basically how do we plant a garden? That we're just doing things really authentic and getting our kids to actually realize that we're reading every time we do something like this. But this has a lot of different websites. The FCRR, as far as they have books online there. Let me go here real quick. I think I have 1 more minute. Underneath that New Worlds Initiative, this Florida Center for Reading Research, there are actually books that the state's actually developed and provides videos with, this Uncanny Chronicles, so there are online video resources, Maya's Book Nook. So they're actually from our university working with the state of Florida to provide text that's digital. Okay, so it's another way that the state's trying to support reading and literacy. So those are all there. So I'm trying to keep it in that one summer reads piece, but I have to be honest with you, most of this is that elementary spectrum. Most of the other pieces come through the ELA teachers at the middle school as they're moving forward. All right, I'll be here for questions if anyone has questions on the side.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope to see all of you in the fall, unless your child is graduating. In that case, congratulations. You've made it through parenting. Sort of. It never ends. So thank you guys so much for coming. We're going to be around. Priscilla will be around. Debbie Wood will be around. I'll be around. Roger will be around. So if you need anything, you have any questions, you have your agenda, has all the contact information. But if you want to just chat, we're here for that too. Bye, guys.